Hello everyone, and welcome to a Blender tutorial on how to make a pod racer much like you see here in the upper right corner. Now I did make this one, and we will be making one similar to it. So to start off over here in the default Blender window, I'm just going to leave this here so we have a reference image, and I'll be sure to put that in the download description. So go to side view by hitting 3 on your number pad. Oh, and over here in the bottom left, I have all of the screencast keys, all of the keys screencasted, so if I miss a step or something and you need to see what key I pushed, feel free to pause the video and look over there. I'm going to try and keep this beginner friendly, but not exactly first time users will be able to have at it and follow 100%. So delete this cube, and then we're going to add in a cylinder, rotate it 90 degrees, and then scale it on the y-axis 2 times. And this is going to give us this bottom shape like you can see over here. But we're going to begin by molding this top shape. So how I did this was by using curves. So come into edit mode, click this top vertex, shift S, cursor to selected. Now this gives us a spot to bring in our curve around. So we want a Bezier curve, go into top view, rotate it a -90 degrees, and then scale it on the x-axis on -1. Now what this allows me to do is completely flip its orientation. So we're going to hold control and drag it, and this keeps it in line with the grid. So we've got to line up for this top bit here to come over. So it's very simple to do with curves because we can W subdivide them just like a line. Now we'll make this part almost, we'll make it flat. And we'll bring this over here, line this up actually a bit because we want to come over and have a bit of a lip. And then we'll bring this over here, line this up to the side. Now it has to come over the edge some, so that way then it doesn't clip through the bottom once we get in here. Now I like to make out the rough shape of how it's going to look from the top view before I start editing with vertical depth. So bring this over here, and then it's just extruding these curves much like you would any normal shape in Blender. So it's pretty intuitive working with these curves if you're used to just working in general. So these two are not lined up, but I want them to be. So we're going to do Shift S, cursor to selected, and then we will go down here, change the pivot point to the 3D cursor, and then scale it on the x-axis to 0 to get it to line up completely. So we've got the basic shape figured out from the top. So now we have to line it down with how level we want it to go. So just simply grab it and drag it. Oops, sorry here, curves are a bit finicky. And here you can see I want it to come just slightly about halfway. But we don't want it to be melting through the curve or melting through the cylinder if we can avoid it. And as you can see, we're having that exact issue here. To change the pivot point, just come down here, choose median. We'll line this up here. And then we will put in a subdivide here, and then we can move this one right to the axis. It doesn't have to be completely perfect, just has to be close. So we want to line up here, and this front bit is melting through the cylinder, and we can't have that, so we have to go into here, W, subdivide this, and then we'll want this to just be lined up so nothing is overlapping the cylinder. Okay, and then I want to just have this line up all a little bit better, so I'm going to tweak it slightly. I just want it to be nice and straight here. Alright, so the next step we have to do is lower the resolution on this, because we're going to convert it to a mesh, but we're also going to add a subdivision. So all of these little arrows on here will be converted to vertices when we convert it to a mesh, and we simply don't need that many. It just makes our job much harder. So on the right hand side here in your properties panel, go to the curve and go to Blender U and make that just 2. That's all we really need because we're going to add a subdivision later. And then once we have this set up, hit Alt C, mesh from curve. And then if we go into edit mode, you can see we now have vertices like a normal sphere or normal object in Blender. So to connect these vertices, just hit the F key and it connects them all the way across. Now I don't think that these are going to line up perfectly. they will not. We have 2 vertices here and only 1 over here. So our best bet is to go through, tweak this a little bit to get it in line with this one, then extrude that across, and then we'll sit here and we'll W subdivide this line once, and that lines up. So now we have to make these lines correspond to these 3 vertices down here. So we'll select this one, W subdivide 3, hit enter. Oops, sorry. So to subdivide it multiple times, hit W, subdivide, and on the left hand side choose number of cuts and set it to 3, and then we will rinse and repeat here 3 times, subdivide it another 3 times, and last time on the top. And then we go through and we connect all of these vertices exactly like we did with the main ones by hitting the F key. Oops, sorry there. One last row here. If at any time you fall behind, feel free to just pause the video. No problem. Alright. So now if we select everything, hit space, and type in fill holes, choose that option, it filled all of them for us except these 2. So select these 4 vertices, hit the F key, and it fills in a square just like it had been doing a line. Now this is really nice, but it's only one side. So go to your modifiers section, add modifier, mirror modifier, and choose y-axis, and then remove the x. Turn on clipping so we can line up our 2 right here down the center. And here we have it, the basic shape of that top. Now we have to make it obviously thicker and smoother, so I'm going to add a subdivision. Just make it 2 here for now. And then we also need a solidify. Now solidify just increases the geometry to make it thicker. And I'm going to go with, let's see how 0.05 will look. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Move the cylinder down a smidge. And here we have it with a built-in thickness. Now that we've got the thickness put in, we've got to apply the solidify so we can begin adding things like these vents on the sides and most of the detail work. Now I like to finish the top first because I feel as though that when you look at it, that's what steals the show, although of course we're going to do the entire pod racer here. So, let's see. What time are we at? 7 minutes? Alright, that's just fine. So, we will apply the solidifier modifier, and then immediately we have issues with the other modifiers. What happens is when we applied it, it created a solid face down the middle that's throwing off our subdivision. So turn off your mirror just by hitting that view icon. Select these middle faces. Select all of those. Hit delete faces only. And if we turn our mirror back on, everything is correct. Except for right here, we have a small clipping issue. So if we just play with this a little bit. There we go. Yes, I had to drag it to the side to get it to clip back into place. I believe we're having the same issue over here. Yeah. Once you have that, make sure the clipping setting is on. That's exactly how that works. So, now we have this here. We take this entire edge, do the same thing to it. Make sure that it's lined up correctly. So now we want to add those vents here, and I found the best way to do that was to simply take a chunk of this and extrude it inwards. Now, right now it's at a weird angle, so we're going to go about fixing that. The best way being is to select the 3, hit S, Y, see, because SY will scale it on that axis, hit 0, and that makes it straight. We will do the same thing over here, SY 0. Now these are straight. And I don't think I want the vents quite that long, so I'm just going to move it in some on the y-axis. Here we go. And also we want to keep all of our geometry lining up here, so I'm going to move it all down 1 so that it can stay nice and flat. Now we just extrude inwards, and we're immediately having an issue with breaking through. because everything is very flat. So the best way to cover this for now is to hit the N key, and at the very top here we have mean crease, and this will just force all of our geometry to be nice and flat. Now personally, mean crease is very nice in what it does because it doesn't add to your geometry, because the other method of doing it is to create a loop cut and line it up to the edge. So for now we're going to use the mean crease, but I found that when we actually get into it, using the loop cuts works better, because if we put this into smooth we have a shading issue here, but that will all be fixed later. So keep it flat for now. I like to see the geometry. Now to make those vents, the best way I found was to merely take this side right here, Shift D, duplicate it, move it down. Now this is going to line up flawlessly with the rest of it. Now if you hit Shift H, it hides everything that isn't selected. So I'm actually going to leave edit mode and just hide the cylinder real quick. We don't need it anymore. So we take this bit and we just extrude it out some. And then we're having, the faces are acting weird. And the reason it's doing this is because the normals are messed up due to the fact that we're extruding a completely flat face. So select everything, hit the spacebar, hit make normals consistent, and as you can see that solved our shading issue. And of course we need this to be flat across, so we'll up this mean crease. And then we want to make this look thrustery, so we scale the top on the y-axis and then we bend it back some. You can see here how it's coming in. So if we hit Alt H, it unhides everything. We can then select this bit, drag it down so it's not melting through the edges. Hit Control L to select the entire thing, and then just line it up in with this. And this is melting through here, you can see, and that's just because this inner corner has not been creased completely. So we will just do that now. And then we have to take that face again and just line it up just a little bit. So we can Control L, select the entire thing, move to the side view, line it up nice where we want it, Shift D to duplicate, hold the Control key, and move it a set number of squares. Shift D, Control key, Shift D, Control key. Now if we select 4 of these, hit Control L and it selects all of those, and then we do the exact same thing till we have filled in all of the space. And of course we can go back and we can select even more of them, Shift D, line it up, and then this last one here is melting through a little bit, but we do need that space there, so I'm just going to select the backs of it. Here we go. Let's see. Actually, that might be just fine how it is. You can see that vent here, the top bit, and it's the exact same process if you want to add more of these, if you want to add them in different parts. Now another bit I want to show you is I didn't put it here because I didn't really care for it, but how to make scoops come out of the top, because it's a very cool effect, although I don't really care for it. So we want to extrude it up and add in vents sort of like this, but I feel like that's just a bit too close to the front. So I'm going to add in a loop cut, give ourselves some more geometry to work with. I think I'll add another one back here and just use this bit here. But for these, I want to keep them very square, I think. I want them to be, very well defined and very sharp. So we'll mean crease everything all the way up. And of course, you don't have to add this if you don't want to. So right now we have this, it's kind of unusual shape because of the fact that it's on an angle. So if we do SZ0, it's going to line up these edges for us. SZ0. There we go. So now those are nice and straight, kinda. And then we can take this bit and we'll go from down here at the bottom here with our editing sliders. We want scaling, and then we want to make it normal, so we can scale it along this side like so. And then I want to take this one, make it global again, SY0. And I want to line this one up so we get like this. You can see the shape we're making right here. and then I'm going to take right here, extrude it once, scale it some, extrude it back just a little bit, and then extrude it once more. And you just have to get these to line up inside, because of course, they're not really a focus, so I don't worry too much on them. Although if you want to go through and add the extra detail, feel free. And then because these edges are here, we have to crease the inside. So I can't really get at it through here because I can't really see them. So if we go to our modifier tab, lower the subdivisions, you see here I can finally grab this inside crease, select all of those, increase the mean crease to 1. Alright, we're still having this issue because we need to select these ones right here, I believe. Alright, we're still... Okay, yeah, there are 4 little ones on the inside too. No biggie, we can just crease those, and then we have these really cool opening vents on the top that would be placed right there. So I believe that that's all we're going to have for this tutorial. Stay tuned in the next part where we will work on the bottom and perhaps even more detailing. Thank you very much.